What's up, guys, gals, everybody else out there? Welcome to the Clown Hour podcast. I'm Scott Burks, your host. Here I am. And my co-host, Dwayne Nash, below me. You can find him on the HBCU Sports. I smile. Where you talk about all things HBCU Sports, as well as Sleazy Widow every Tuesday night on Facebook Live. Please check him and his crew out. You'd be glad you did. It's hilarious and informative, as I might add. Also, you can check him out.
Yeah, I'm just hoping the guys who watched it Tuesday didn't get epileptic seizures.
I know that.
You guys have to take a look at it for yourself at the end of the show. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
All right.
Sorry, Coach. I got to keep getting you.
That's why you got to check out Sleazy Sports every Tuesday on Facebook Live. For that reason alone. Also, HeroSports.com. He writes for HeroSports.com as well, where he writes for all things FCS athletics, as we're talking off air about, as it pertains to HBCUs. And me, my sports ball, The Clown Times, she is spelled out right here. Just check them out, www.theclowntimes.net. Also, you can check me on Facebook as well, where you're on smartphone, desktop, laptop. You find me there as well. Just do a search for Clown Times. Find me there as well. And two last things. You can get the merch, cafepress.com, folks.
Get the merch.
There you go. And search for the Clown Time Sports. You find I'll put the link to it in the description tomorrow when it just uploads to YouTube. You'll find it there as well. And also, we're getting new followers. We're getting used to new subscribers. Keep it going. I mean, hey, we celebrated small victories. We crossed over the 100 threshold. We're up past 130. So just keep it going, guys. I'm pretty excited about that. And I know
let's get that 200 mark. Yeah, baby.
That's right. 200, baby. I'll be throwing a bash. Yeah. So we're going to kick this off with NBA. So with that in mind, I introduce my buddy here. You see him to my right, right this way. You check him out on the weekend adjustments on 1450 AM, the ticket out of Hamilton, Ohio. My man Kevin McCune is back in the house. Kevin, what's going on?
Hey, what's up? If you're wondering why I'm wearing the Wayne's World hat tonight, it's I like it. Last time I had the Jazz hat on because I was ticked off at the Jazz. So.
Wait a minute, Kevin. I think I know where you're going.
All right.
This, and I'm smiling heavily already. Well, first and foremost, I'm already jealous that you had the hat because, of course, first name is Dwayne, but I digress. But I already know where you're about to go, and I'm smiling heavy already. Go ahead, please.
All right, yeah. So one of my favorite scenes from the movie, they're backstage with Alice Cooper, and he tells them it's actually pronounced Milwaukee, and it means the good land.
Yes, the Algonquin for the good land.
Yep. So congrats to the good land on their NBA championship. So I'm wearing this just in support of Milwaukee tonight.
That is awesome. That is awesome cultural reference. Bravo, bro. Bravo for the reference. Bravo,
you get a standing ovation from me, sir, with that one. Any day, all day, and twice on Thursdays. Yes.
And with that in mind, let's get into Milwaukee or whatever. They won the chip. Finally, they won the chip. The first final since 1971, before we were born. Well, 2 years before I was born. And so that was great, man. They were down 0-2. I remember we talked last time. They were down 0-2, and we were like, what's going to happen? And so they end up just steamrolling the next, well, not saying steamroll, they were good games, but they won the next 4 games after they made the adjustment in game 3, which was, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, put Drew Holiday on Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Don't fall for the okie doke on the switch when they set screens, when they pick and roll. Have Drew Holiday, 6'3" defensive dynamo, hound Chris Paul for 94 feet. Make the occasional switch with Chris Middleton if you had to, which they did. But they randomly had Drew Holiday just hounding the hell out of Chris Paul, and it made a big difference. So let's just start there with adjustment, because I bag on Coach Budenholzer a lot for not making any adjustment past whatever, but he did. It was a big adjustment, so bravo to him as well. He's off the hot seat for at least another year, so props to him. But Cameron, let me start with you, because we talked about Budenholzer and the lack of adjustments, and it turned out that the lack of adjustment was made with Monty Williams. We'll get to him later, but let's talk about Budenholzer and the job that he did and getting his guys off the schneid, if you will, over the hump and win the championship for the first time in 50 years.
Yeah, definitely. I think if the Bucks had ended up losing to the Nets, and I hate ifs in sports, but I think Budenholzer, he could have been fired. I think
he would have been fired.
Yeah. If they had lost that series, and so to win that series like they did, and you can blame it on injuries or whatever. It was a dogfight, and they got it done. Yes. To win that series and then turn around and come back from an 0-2 deficit in the finals. Great job by him. You mentioned just the adjustment with Holiday, and I don't want to beat a dead horse. I know I talked about the Jazz a lot the last time I was on here, but I think this series was reminiscent a lot of that Jazz Clippers series where one coach made an adjustment and another coach really failed to, I think, to match that adjustment. And the Jazz series, Jazz are up 2-0, and then the Clippers take 4 straight, and that's what happened here. And I think really the Milwaukee didn't win by shooting lights out from 3. I think in 3 of their victories, they shot just 20-something% in 3 out of their 4 victories from 3-point land. And they won just from sheer will and wanting it more, it felt like, than Phoenix. And that's kind of how I felt as a Jazz fan in that Jazz Clippers series. Was one team just kept attacking. And that's that never say die attitude that Milwaukee had. And, I think just to talk on Budenholzer, you saw, I think for me, one of the coolest moments was when Middleton and Antetokounmpo and Budenholzer shared that hug, the 3 of them at the end of the game. Yeah, the 3 of them just embraced, and I was like, yeah, it's a cool moment. So I think that speaks to how those guys see him as their coach and their leader, and credit to him.
Yeah, and you know what, Dwayne, I bad and maybe you too, Kevin. I've bagged on the Greek Freak a lot. I've said in the past I didn't trust him in the playoffs. I couldn't trust him as far as I could throw him because of he was up. Let's go back in a couple of years, right? He was up 2-0 on Toronto. They made we're talking about adjustments, right? They made the adjustment, the Raptors did, of building the wall to frustrate Giannis, to make him keep him out of the paint, make himself outside shots before he developed a part of his game of assisting the basketball and trust his teammates. So that worked to a charm, and they were ousted. And actually, they were up in game 3, if I remember correctly. They were up big in game 3 and took that game away, and it was downhill from there. And then last year in the bubble, remember, Kevin, and I told you too this, Dwayne, do not sleep on Miami, right? Miami just, I'll be in the bubble setting, no home court or whatever, right? No fans. They thumped them. They thumped the hell out of Milwaukee. And so, again, that's why I just had little to no faith in Giannis, okay? We're not talking about the coach. We're talking about Giannis because he's a superstar. He's the back-to-back MVP. He's was the reigning defensive player of the year before Rudy Gobert obviously won it this past year. So for him to just ball out, coming off a hyperextended knee many thought that, including probably all 3 of us thought he probably wouldn't be coming back in the playoffs, or maybe late in the finals, maybe. But for him to just man up and ball out the way he did, man, from games 1 to the end, that's impressive. And plus a 50-burger he put up in game 6 in the clincher where no one else wanted to hit a shot. That was pretty impressive.
That progression from game 1 where he had like 20 points and I think he made 6 shots. I remember thinking, man, coming back from that knee, what a gladiator. I was like, that was such an awesome performance.
That's
and then you
crazy.
get to game 6 where he puts up 50. So, but still, George worse that game 1. But after that knee injury, I thought he was done.
I thought it was done. I still can't believe it because that won me respect right there for him to come out and gut it out as it was, win or lose. But then to just have otherworldly performances when it mattered the most, Dwayne, that was just, he's earned my respect. I gotta give it to him. The big Greek Freak has officially earned this guy's respect.
Well, I'll say this, right? He understood the moment because, there are a lot of people, and they say it often, that you don't know when you're going to have this opportunity to play for a championship ever again. So if you can get your way through it do so. And that's exactly what he did. And yeah, we got 6 quality games out of him. Well, more than quality in 3 of those games.
Right.
But yeah, the game 1 was, like you said, Kevin, he put up 20 plus in that game. And a lot of people were like, wow, okay, he's fighting through this.
Yeah.
You know, how is he going to look in game 2? And I think game 2, he gave us 40 in a loss. And then, you know, like, oh, okay, so he's healthy. The question is, are the Bucks going to buck? And they, oddly enough, they stopped bucking in game 2 and started taking high percentage shots. Now, there was a quote made by Stan Van Gundy that Scott, I talked about in the Double S group, and a lot of people didn't catch that quote. But I thought it was very interesting because a lot of people like to talk about Coach Budenholzer about how he doesn't make adjustments. And Van Gundy said that for those who think that he doesn't make adjustments, you don't know basketball, which led me to believe that, maybe Van Gundy sees something or knows something that we don't know, and maybe it's the players that need to make changes. Mm-hmm. And that's the way it seemed to me. They took better shots.
Yeah.
You know, they played defense. The adjustments that they made, you know, were capable of not holding just Chris Paul down offensively, but Cam Johnson, who was that? Cam.
Yeah, you got it right. Cam Johnson.
Not just Cam Johnson, but the campaign, and also DeAndre Ayton. They all averaged 5 points less per game in the finals than they did in the Western Conference Finals. So that defensive presence from that team and their ability to shoot better and take better shots led to this finals championship victory for them. And you know, you also look back. What was that game 4? They out rebound them offensively by 12. Yeah. You know, they also forced 24.
That was a gutty win. Game 4 is a guts win.
It was a huge guts win. That was a
guts win because Phoenix could have won. Phoenix probably should have won game 4. That was all on pure
They were up
guts.
like the whole game, right? Until last year.
Until the fourth quarter,
Yes.
And then game 5, you know, they came out like bats out of hell in the second and third quarter and just outscored them. What was it, like
80-something to 50-something?
Yeah, they just pounded them into submission in game 5.
Because Phoenix was up big in the first quarter.
37-1 after one.
Yeah.
And then, you know, they outscored them in the second half in game 6, 63-51. Mm-hmm. So it was the fact that, you know, for us to say that they weren't making adjustments, well, finally the players did. Mm-hmm. And the most important adjustment to me, of course, was the higher shooting percentage of the defense, like I said earlier. And then, you know, it just there are a lot of people who say that Chris Paul was still dealing with that hand injury. Either or, you know, you say it's the injury. I'll still say it's the defensive play, and I applaud them for that.
It's the defensive
and then, of
play.
course, Chris Middleton, and wow, Drew Holiday, the guy that everyone talked about before the season started as being the third piece that they needed. He seemed like he was missing the entire playoffs, and then here he comes in games 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Especially game 5.
To be that, especially in game 5.
Game 5 he was huge in game 5. Yeah.
Yeah, to be that boost that the Bucks needed.
Yeah, and Drew Holiday, I'm telling you, he was real big. But check this out, Dwayne and Kevin. Y'all mentioned about adjustments, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Milwaukee needed to take advantage of what? Their size. They're big. They're long and athletic. You know, just play to your strengths, right? So check this out. They need to be more aggressive. They were more aggressive. The Bucks had 29 free throw attempts, made 25 of them. Mm-hmm. Phoenix not only had just 19 of them, Giannis made 17 on his own.
Oh, yeah.
Almost as he made as many free throws as the Suns team had free throw attempts at only 19. That again is all about guts and hustle with Milwaukee. That's what won them the series. Getting nasty on defense and just bludgeoning Phoenix down low and just being more aggressive than Phoenix. Because Phoenix is smaller than they are. They're smaller than they are. And they want to experience, even though this is for both these teams first in the finals in several years, not only that, but the players, aside from Jay Crowder, None of them had finals experience. But the point is that Milwaukee had the length. They took advantage of that length. And they started, like, Charles Barkley called them the dumbest team in the NBA because they love taking the three-point shot.
Yeah.
And
I was right there with you.
Yeah, and I agree with them. They still took 27, made only 6 3-pointers. I'm like, come on, fellas, you better than this. But Phoenix were cold too. They were only 6 of 25. So it kind of balanced itself out.
Yeah,
but
so with them being cold and the fact that they would out-rebound them, especially offensively,
yes,
that helped out drastically with Milwaukee.
Yeah, they got bludgeoned on offensive boards. But I would say this. One more thing about Milwaukee, then moving to Phoenix. Again, I'm looking at Giannis' stat line: 50 points, 14 boards, 5 blocks. Right. When the rest of the team, Middleton had 17 on 6 of 13 shooting. Drew Holiday, even though he made a difference on the defensive end, he was 12. He had 12 points, 11 assists on 4 of 19 shooting. So Giannis, if Giannis scores went for just 40, they lose because they won by 7.
Yeah.
So that's, again, man, props to Giannis. I know Bobby Portis had a damn good game too off the bench, but props to Giannis. This is Giannis. This is Giannis' series right here, and he won the series MVP. Well earned. Let's shift to the Suns right quick, though. You gotta feel bad for Chris Paul. Chris Paul scored. He played a good game. 26 points, 5 assists, 11-19 shooting. Even though the infamous Scott Foster was reffing, which dropped to the 0-13 in playoff games where he officiated. That's crazy to me. But I put the blame too on Ayton for not playing big. I think it was just intimidated not only at the moment, but at facing Giannis. I think Giannis psyched him out totally.
Yeah, I think if you look at Ayton's stat line, those first couple games, he looked like the Ayton we saw in the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
And, that Ayton that was, because during these playoffs, I was like, oh man, DeAndre Ayton's looking like a big from the 90s. Like the numbers he's putting up, and like he's turning into one of the best bigs in the game. And then I forget which game it was. I knew one of these.
It was game 4, Kevin, when he scored 6 points.
6 points. Yeah. I knew he had 6 points in one of them, and it's like, so you saw that regression in his play, and that goes back to Scott, you talking about the adjustments Milwaukee made and just how they started physically dominating the interior. And I think you're right. I think he got a little gun shy because he really hadn't been challenged up until this point. Zubac's not going to challenge him, as talented as he is. So yeah, I think he got a little gun shy, and I think that was a big part of it. I think a big thing for the Suns too is just which game was it? Was it game 4 or 5 where Booker had that turnover late that kind of sealed the loss? He dribbled in.
It was game 5.
It was game 5.
And Holiday
just took it away from him.
And for me, I was just like, whoa, who's Phoenix's closer here? Isn't Booker the closer, or is he looking for Paul? And so I think one strength that Phoenix had throughout the playoffs was they spread it around. Ayton was on some nights, Booker was on, Paul was on. I mean, and that was one thing that I really marveled at was just the incredible team play that they had that got them to this point. But then, in that moment when you need somebody who's going to be the guy,
right?
And is it Booker or is it Paul? Because Booker in that moment, like, he looked like a deer in headlights. He
dribbled too low.
His eyes, you could, like, he had no idea where he was going with the ball, what he was doing, and Holiday was just like, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that was a testament to the rest of the Phoenix Suns just having a poor offensive output throughout the entire series, because that's something that we saw with Phoenix throughout the entire Western Conference playoffs. Like I said before, the Cam's playing well, with DeAndre Ayton playing well, with Jay Crowder hitting buckets, and you couldn't count on them in the finals. And it just seemed like it was a situation where Devin Booker just went into a double team that eventually turned into a triple team that led to that turnover, and he just had nowhere else to go.
Well, you guys remember on that play, like, even though they were not dominant, but they played. They were outplayed for the final 3 quarters. They were in it. They were still in it at that point. They were down one. Booker, what he did when he dribbled, like no one called a timeout, so it was chaos everywhere, right? So there was remember he dribbled down, he dribbled like to the elbow, right, near the free throw line. It looked like he was going to take the shot then, but he hesitated and went down further and got himself in a whole lot of trouble. I think if he would have raised up the shot over Tucker, he would have had a better shot. And that's the shot. That's his shot. He's the mid range. That's his game. So I think when he hesitated and went down lower, you could see it coming. You could see it coming because Giannis would drape them. And then he turned around and Drew Holiday was looking at him. And as soon as Drew Holiday went for it, I was like, oh. And it was y'all saw the rest. It was a 3-on-1 fast break. Then look at Giannis sprinting down the floor with his long legs like a gazelle. Chris Paul fouled him on the alley-oop. I was like, yeah. But I would say this though, Phoenix, they didn't give up in game 6.
No.
They didn't. I thought they were going to fold like a tent in game 6 because even though they got outplayed the final 3 quarters of game 5, they were shooting the ball well. They rebounded decently. It's not like they played terrible. It's just that Milwaukee was just better. So Milwaukee literally took their best shot of the whole series and still won on their home court, on Phoenix's home court. That's why I was like, oh, it's over. How do you come back from that? But credit for Phoenix for fighting. Credit for Chris Paul for having the game that he had. He wasn't going to go out like a punk. But Milwaukee's just better. But I just wish that, what if, we're talking about lack of adjustment earlier, Kevin, what if Monty Williams were to build that wall? I know they lost their big man in game 1, the other big man, which probably made a huge difference, but why not build a wall? Why not use Kaminsky more on the defensive end and just frustrate Giannis? I didn't understand why he allowed Ayton to single cover the man the entire series.
Yeah, no, it didn't make sense. And I mean, you just, I keep going back to why didn't Quinn Snyder, match the small play of the Clippers? And you can say the same thing for Monty Williams in the finals. Why didn't he readjust? Why didn't he try to match it? And I really don't have an answer because, like you said, I think Ayton was scared of Giannis, and yeah.
Dwayne, I was just shocked. I love Monty Williams as a coach. He did great things in New Orleans with Chris Paul, and he was doing good things last year in the bubble. They went undefeated, and I was like, they're gonna go on the road, guys, and they did. I didn't think they'd get this far, but they did, and those guys are young. They're not gonna go anywhere anytime soon. I just wish he would have made that, at least that one adjustment, because it worked for everybody else. It almost worked for Atlanta. Yeah. It's just that Atlanta's not as talented as Milwaukee, or long as Milwaukee. That's what did them in.
The only thing, and once again, this is a basketball idiot questioning the moves of a NBA coach, right?
Right. Me too.
Maybe it was because he thought that Kaminsky wasn't going to give him the offensive firepower that they were going to need in order to keep up with the Bucks, especially the way that they look shooting percentage-wise in those last 4 games. Sure. And he didn't want to sacrifice offense for defense in that situation. Sure. But who's to say that it wouldn't have helped them defensively force Milwaukee to take shots that they didn't want to take? But, that's one of those, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Unless you try it and it actually works or it doesn't work.
Yeah,
I think that's a great point, because I think, I touched on it last time you had me on. I think one thing that I really found, for lack of a better word, so beautiful about Phoenix's game, and we already talked about it a little bit, is how well they spread the ball around and how prolific, their offense was, because you could kick it to, Jay Crowder, you could kick it to McCall Bridges, and they were hitting shots, and that wasn't happening in this series. But I think, if you're looking for an answer, I think Dwayne maybe hit the nail on the head there. Is you don't want to sacrifice what your identity is on offense, because you want to continue to try to keep that fast pace, spread it around, keep the defense on their heels. And Kaminsky probably would have been a hindrance to that.
Yeah, Saric going out. That was, I couldn't think of his name earlier. Saric.
Yeah, Dario Saric. Yep.
That was a big injury. It was bigger than what we all would imagine.
Yeah, it took away from their rotation.
Yeah, it did. There was one less big guy to at least. He's talented. He's a talented big man. He's not a scrub. He's not a stiff. Mm-hmm. But at least I was going to say it took away at least one big man to give at least those 4 or 5 fouls to, right, to make Giannis work for it and make Giannis force him on the defensive end to cover his Sarge because he has a good shot, nice shot too. So that really hurt Phoenix. But I would say this, guys. I know that a lot of teams would think about next year now. A lot of teams are going to get better, especially out west, right? You figure LeBron and the Lakers are going to be healthier. But I would say this, though. They have a lot of question marks as far as point guard. I know they're not going to touch Dennis Schroeder with a 10-foot pole, one would assume, as far as free agency-wise. And how healthy is Anthony Davis? Is he going to ever be the help? Is he going to be healthy again as he was last year in the bubble? And LeBron, Father Time, is undefeated and untied, bro. I love you. But it's tapping you on the shoulders, my man. It'll be season, 19 next year? I think.
My God, either 19 or 20, one of the two. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, yeah. And plus, about 19 years, yeah. The Clippers going to get, assume that Kawhi Leonard picks up his option, stays with the Clippers and gets healthy. The Clippers will be better. Utah, I still like Utah as a team. I know that my man Kevin he's pissed off with the coach, but I still like them as a team. You still got at least another year of Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, so that's good. Now I don't know what y'all gonna do with Mike Conley. I don't know what y'all gonna do about that, but
that's up to him. I think he might bowl. We'll see, but. I don't know. With that, there's rumors that they're going to put Bogdanovich on the block. I'm like, what are you going to get for the guy's going to be? He's a great shooter. He averaged 17 a game, but he's going to be 33 years old.
Yeah.
You're not pulling anything too special with that. But I don't know. As far as the Lakers, with these rumors swirling today that they're going to target Chris Paul or Westbrook, I know Dwayne's in Washington. I'd love to hear what he thinks about this. Schroeder, Kuzma, Talon Horton, Tucker sign and trade for Westbrook. I'm like, why would the Wizards do that? But...
Oh my God! There are a lot of things that I question about what the Wizards do, and oddly enough, a lot of times whenever I would sit back and scratch my head and say, "What the hell are they doing?" and Unseld was in the building, and guess who they just hired this week? So yeah, I understand West Jr. is coming in, and he's not necessarily going to have any GM responsibilities that we know of as of right now. But I'm just saying, every time Chris Webber, Juwan Howard, Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace, just every time, a head scratcher has happened here
Richard
in the
Hamilton.
past 30 years.
Richard Hamilton, by the way.
Well, Rip Hamilton.
Yeah.
But that was a Mike situation.
Yeah, but still,
that was Mike.
He was a wizard. He was a wizard. He was a wizard for a while. Yeah.
But when those big situations, it was an Unseld situation there, and I am intrigued to see what Wes. And I gotta keep forgetting the young GM's name that's here in DC now. I'm waiting to see what they're going to do this offseason to try to make this team better. And will it be a situation that they'll be revolved around both Beal and Westbrook, or just one of those pieces, along with Rui Hachimura, and then of course Thomas Bryant, who they're higher on, who of course missed the remainder of the season due to an Achilles injury. But I'm just waiting to see. But yeah, there have been rumors about Westbrook heading out west, Chris Paul, Dame Lillard going to the Lakers. So yeah, there's a lot of trade rumors floating around. I don't know what to believe yet until we get a little bit closer to the deadline.
Dame Lillard situation, that's crazy. You kind of saw that coming though. If y'all was really honest about it, could have seen that coming though. He's balling out, working hard every night, and then what does that give him? First round loss,
second round
loss here and there. They make the I think one year, didn't they make the conference final one year? The past few years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was last year. I know they did. I can't remember
It
exactly.
wasn't last year, right? It
Didn't make
was
it.
not that long ago. It was not that long ago, right?
I think it was against. I think it might have been. It was against Golden State one of those years.
It was
I
against
think
Golden State. Yeah.
it was. You're exactly right. But I say all that to say this: as far as the Western Conference goes, teams will get better. Dallas probably going to get better if they get the front office situation sorted out some way somehow. But I think that even with all of that going on, I think Phoenix will still be there, especially if Chris Paul comes back. I think Phoenix is not going away. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in Golden State with Klay Thompson coming back. That's going to be big. That will make Golden State a hell of a lot better. And we're supposed to, with that Wiseman kid getting another year under his belt.
I think 2 lottery picks that if they want to try to get somebody, if they can get somebody to bite and get another star in there.
Yes, and they got cap room. We're dealing with those stars, those 3 stars, him, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. They somehow still have a lot of cap room and 2 lottery picks to play with. It's great to be Golden State right now if you're looking to bounce back. But I still say Phoenix is still there. It's so hard. The NBA it's not guaranteed in the NBA to get back there every single year. You know what I'm saying? If you're on a team that does not employ LeBron or Kevin Durant. So it's just hard to tell. But even out East too, because I saw the odds of next year winning the title next year, Brooklyn is a favorite right now.
Oh, wow. Even
followed
with Steve Nash as the head coach? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, followed by, believe it or not, followed by the Lakers. Remember all those issues I talked about? Somehow Vegas loves the Lakers next year, as well as the Milwaukee Bucks are the 3rd. They got the 3rd highest odds. So at least Milwaukee has a chance to come up with a chip on his shoulder. His shoulder and say, look, we're the champs, man. I know, injuries happen. They happen against the Brooklyn Nets, but that's basketball. You can't control that, right? And I always said whoever won that Brooklyn-Milwaukee series is going to win the whole thing anyway.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, but the point is that if Brooklyn, as long as they're fully healthy, they'll at their best, they won't stop them. Now, if they could play a little bit of defense, that's another story for the time. But I think that Milwaukee's not going anywhere. I think they have a great shot next year, being that all 3 of those cats will be back. I think they're getting Dante DiVincenzo back from injury, which is huge. That'll improve the rotation.
Yeah.
And so they're right now fully healthy next season. Milwaukee's like 9 deep. So which is, especially for playoff time, that would be huge as well. And who the hell knows is going to go into Philly as far as Ben Simmons is concerned, Mr. I don't want to shoot
that mess. My God.
So and who knows if my Knicks get a scorer, as long as we'll pay, if we don't overpay for Julius Randle, we'll be good. We'll be good. He's not a max player. One the good thing about that series against Atlanta, it showed him and everybody else he's not a max player. He didn't play like a max player. Thankfully, we won't shoot ourselves in the foot and give him a max contract. Use that money for elsewhere. Give him a contract, but don't give him max dollars. Okay.
Just to get your hopes up as a Knicks fan, hey, if the Lillard rumors are true, because he came out and said, "Oh, I'm not really demanding trade," so who knows? But if they are true, his four rumored destinations were the Lakers, the Heat, the Knicks, and Golden State. I think out of those 4 teams, I mean, the Knicks are the only one with RJ Barrett, so I think they could put together the best package.
Right.
If that came to fruition. So, like I said, get your hopes up a little bit as a Knicks fan.
Well, you know what though, I was pouring it was like on sale from 1999 last season because hell, the 4th seed. Man, you thought we was 1973 over again. We won our last title, man. Or the 90s. You think it was the 90s again with those Patrick Ewing teams? I didn't know what to do with myself last year. I was like, I'm like, is this real? Are we winning games? Are we in the playoffs? Albeit being in a gentleman's sweep against Atlanta, but still, that's another team to watch next year, Atlanta too. But
But I have a quick question for the both of you guys, because I've been thinking about this throughout the entire playoffs. Do you think what we saw this past season in the NBA is an anomaly, is an asterisk, if you will? And I hate when people try to do that stuff.
Sure.
Based upon COVID and everything being a condensed season, and we probably will or we won't see these teams return to the playoffs again next year, like the Knicks being the 4th seed, the Atlanta Hawks going on the type of run that they went on this year, the fact that we got Milwaukee and Phoenix in the finals, the fact that the Lakers and Golden State had to come in that playoff game situation. Do you think we'll have a repeat of this next year, or do you think there's going to be, or everything's going to come back to the mean, if you will, in terms of, okay, we expect LeBron to be a high seed, we expect the likes of Brooklyn and Philly to play well, Golden State's going to return. Which would you think will be the situation for 2022?
I think in the East, it's going to come down between Brooklyn and Milwaukee. I really do. I think Milwaukee's got over that hump. So they got all the confidence in the world now. Giannis is that dude now. He is. Two regular season MVPs, Defensive Player of the Year award, an NBA title, and the NBA Finals MVP in the last 3 years. He's that dude now. So he's gonna come in. He's humble. He's a humble superstar. He's a very nice guy. He's not
very nice guy. Very corny
does not have an ego whatsoever. Right.
Yeah, very corny. And I like the fact that he knows that he's corny.
Yeah.
And he just lives up to it. Right. I relish in that, actually. Yeah.
And the team gets along. There's a great chemistry to have in Milwaukee. So I think it's going to be between them and Brooklyn. Brooklyn healthy is damn near unstoppable. The only thing that's stopping them was health and the fact that they can't play defense. Now, they played better defense in the playoffs, but they couldn't stay healthy. You saw what happened. Kyrie tore his ankle? Was the ankle?
It was his ankle, yeah.
Injury, yeah.
Yeah, it was the ankle. And because if Brooklyn found a way to get past Milwaukee with KD going 1-on-5, they said that Kyrie would have been able to play in the conference finals against Atlanta. That's what people were saying.
But I don't know about Brooklyn. The reason why I still scratch my head about Brooklyn, Kevin, I think I may have brought this up the last time you were here before, is that, everyone questioned or talked about James Harden being hurt, and that was a detriment to the Brooklyn Nets. I'm like, yo, show me a great playoff James Harden, and I'll take that excuse. I've seen James Harden go 5 for 17 healthy in the playoffs before. Just because he did it with a bum ankle don't mean that he did it only because he was hurt and that he's going to play better instantaneously because he's playing with a great player like Kevin Durant, because we've seen him play with great players before and still have bad shooting nights. The thing is, Jeff Green had a horrible game 7 where he scored absolutely no points.
Yeah,
and then he put up 20 in game 5, but then gave up nothing in game 7. So as much as everyone likes to talk about the big three in Brooklyn, there are other pieces in Brooklyn that should have stepped up in game 7 that did absolutely nothing. So if they can get consistent play out of them as well, we wouldn't have to sit here and talk about the big three coming back and being healthy, because they got the tools to play well already. It's just that, other guys just didn't step up when needed.
Yeah, I think acquiring Harden was just too tempting. But I remember back when it happened, tweeting some disappointment. Just in the fact that I wanted to see what Brooklyn could have been, and it got to happen because it ended up saving Karis LeVert's life that he got traded.
Yeah, really.
But so thankful for that. But if they had kept LeVert, just purely basketball and his health out of it, they kept LeVert. If they kept Jared Allen, if they had kept the roster that they gutted around Kevin Durant and around Kyrie Irving, they're a deeper team. I was intrigued to see what those two added to Brooklyn's young core, which was already showing promise. As far back as a few years ago when D'Angelo Russell had his big year with them, I was intrigued to see what they could be. But then they essentially, got rid of all that for Harden. But I think Brooklyn will comes down to, you know, what Scott was talking about as far as Kyrie's health and Durant, because Kyrie's clutch in the playoffs. I mean, he has been. And so if those two can cancel out Harden's poor playoff play, I agree with Scott as far as them being a contender. But Dwayne, to answer your question, as far as like, you know, will traditional contenders come back? I think they will. I think this year was probably somewhat of an anomaly where was the final four teams, we had one title winner out of all of them in their histories. And that was back in 1971, 50 years ago. And if you look at the history of the NBA, even, I mean, just if we start from 1980, when the NBA really started to blow up and became kind of what it is today, the modern NBA, and we look at the franchises that have won titles, the list isn't very long. There's a year where, you know, maybe the Mavericks win it one year, or the Raptors win it one year, but the league traditionally and historically has been controlled by the best players and by dynasties. You know, Michael Jordan was the best player in the 90s. The Bulls were the best team in the 90s. Olajuwon was, you know, one of the best players in the 90s. The Rockets were the other teams to win it. You look at the 80s, the Celtics had Bird, Lakers had Magic. I mean, and you could take that all the way up through, you know, Golden State with Steph Curry. And so I think we'll see a return to that, where if the best players in the league stay healthy, we're going to see those teams kind of in it at the end. I think that's why we see Vegas liking the Lakers so much, because if AD and LeBron are healthy, despite LeBron being really old and the roster being terrible outside of those two, I think you go with traditionally the best players win in this league.
Yeah, and to piggyback what you said, Kevin, too, in the issue to LA and Boston dominating the 80s, and I'm a little bit older than you. The Sixers, Dr. J and Moses Malone, they had some good teams too. They won. They've been in the 80s, they've been in 3 finals against the Lakers, winning one of them. So basically, essentially, if you look at this is crazy. If you look at the Eastern Conference in the 80s, if your name is not Philly, Boston, or Detroit, the Pistons, you weren't winning it. You weren't even being in the finals. And the West was even funnier, because if you were in the 80s, if you weren't the Lakers and Houston twice, like once when Moses Malone was playing with the Rockets in 1980-81 against the Boston Celtics, and again both times against the Celtics. And when Ralph Sampson, remember that name? Ralph Sampson and Olajuwon, both young guys at the time, went up against Larry Bird's Celtics in 85, I think it was. So yeah, if you basically in the West, if you weren't LA or Houston, you weren't playing the finals as well. So it was just, again, to both y'all, to your point, Kevin, it's a star-driven league, man. I mean, it's in addition to Toronto winning it 2 years ago and Milwaukee, the only main big anomaly was the Detroit Pistons in the mid-2000s with Rip Hamilton and Rasheed Wallace and Chauncey Billups. A completely superstarless team.
Yeah, that's true. Because I was going to say I would add maybe the Heat with a Shaq over the hill, Dwayne Wade's first one. Right. Yeah, they did have Shaq and Dwayne Wade. So. Yeah. So there you go. But outside of them, I mean, if you want the Spurs, the Lakers in the 2000s, the Spurs, the Lakers. Come on, what are we talking about here? So, yeah, I mean, it was. I would say this. It was fun. This past season was fun. Yeah, I mean, especially the playoffs, because it was like you have 4 teams that either have never been there before, or it's been a long time. In the case of Milwaukee and Phoenix, they've never been before us were Atlanta and the Clippers. Yeah. So either way, we're getting fresh blood in the finals. So that was cool. And I think I saw somewhere with the finals, the ratings were really high this year because of the fresh blood. Yeah. Right? The Greek Freak, Chris Paul on the other side, Devin Booker on the other side. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, but I'm just,
I don't want to agree with y'all that it was an anomaly this year, but I think next year, given all we said, I think again in the East, I think Milwaukee has a better chance in the East than Phoenix will have in the West.
Mhm.
Even though I think Phoenix will still be a damn good team. I think they're scratching the surface. But I think with the Lakers getting healthier, albeit LeBron being 1,000 years old, you have the Clippers getting healthier. And that's a damn good Clippers team, y'all. Scary Clippers team. And whatnot. And with really those two teams. And who knows what's going to happen in Golden State with Klay coming back. So from the Pacific Division alone, they're going to have some problems, right, dealing with those three teams. So that's why I think, again, Milwaukee, I get to tell them right now, it's Milwaukee and Brooklyn in the East. I really do. It's going to come down between those two squads. So I wouldn't be shocked for a rematch in the Eastern Conference Finals if everyone's healthy. So that's how I see it.
And I think this free agency, I say that NBA free agency is like probably my third favorite professional sports league. You know, NBA offseason. I think this year there aren't a lot of marquee guys, you know, unless Kawhi opts out, which he's not going to with the torn ACL. But I think the storyline really it's going to be driven by championship chaser, older guys like Mike Conley. You know, is he going to stay loyal to Utah, or is he going to chase a ring with the Clippers, the Lakers maybe, or the Lakers? Is Chris Paul going to stay loyal to Phoenix and all the success he had this year? Is he going to force a sign and trade or take a vet minimum to chase a ring? You know, I think that those will be the bigger storylines more than really big marquee guys moving around.
Right. I just want to see what happened with that Dame Lillard if that's trade. I think that there's a lot of smoke there, guys. I think there's a whole lot of smoke. There's going to be some fire because I think Dame is looking around. He's like Giannis. He's very loyal. Very loyal. God bless him for that. Took that huge contract, max contract deal. That's going to start because I think it's going to kick in next season. 40-some odd mil. We chose the wrong profession, but anyway, at least not being an agent. Yeah.
5'11".
Yeah. Well, that's why I said being an agent. At least being an agent, not being an agent, NBA agent.
I don't know about you guys, man. I just walked away because I couldn't take discipline of dealing with coach. That's what that was.
You couldn't. You were a coach killer.
Free ball.
You were a coach killer. There you go.
I just didn't have a name. They were like, "Who's this dude trying to be a coach killer?" And I was like, "Let me walk away from this. I don't even want to deal with this."
But I just, it's going to be interesting, guys, and that's not going to be the only trade domino. I think we don't know what's going to happen with Bradley Beal and what beloved Wizards. Not going to know what's happening with Russell Westbrook. We don't know what's going to happen with Chris Paul. A lot of great players.
Ben Simmons. Well,
we don't know what's going to happen with Ben Simmons.
You said great players, but yeah, we're wondering what's going to happen with Ben Simmons. Yeah,
he's going to pull a Kwame Brown and start calling out people. We keep talking about him. Oh man, that's funny.
Brad Stevens already made one move as a GM, getting Al Horford to Boston.
That's right.
Oh, wow.
That's right. Yeah, that's a better fit for Al Horford, to be honest with you. Bring that leadership, and he didn't want to leave Boston in the first place, but yeah, money talks and the rest walks. So again, with Boston too, you don't know the basically so many question marks, right? So the only, again, as far as Phoenix and Milwaukee is concerned, Phoenix has two or possibly three baddies in their own division, and the two LA teams, and Golden State getting back Klay Thompson, and hopefully Klay Thompson. And Milwaukee in the East, Atlanta's going to be better, yes, but it really is going to be between Atlanta. It's going to be between Milwaukee and Brooklyn. I really do feel that way because everyone else has question marks. So many question marks going on. You don't know what's going high or low, but it's going to remain to be seen. But this was a hell of a season, guys. NBA season, great playoffs. And it's going to be even crazier next season with all these question marks we mentioned. So it's going to be fun. That's why we love the NBA. That's why we think it's fantastic. So on that note, man, hey, Kevin, thanks for rapping with us. the last 3 weeks about the NBA. It was fun. You the man when it comes to NBA. Hopefully we'll get you and your partner, Jared. I need to holler at him. I need to holler at him about that.
See what's going on.
Yeah, let's holler about him about that. All right, guys.
And thanks for the Wayne's World gym. My God, you made my day brighter today.
Bravo for that. Bravo for the Wayne's World gym. I mean, I couldn't believe I actually forgot about that. But props to you, my man. Props to you for bringing that pop culture back into the sports world. We really appreciate it. All right, we're gonna continue the rest of the show. But thanks again, Kevin. We really appreciate you, brother.
Definitely.
Thanks, Kev.
Let me leave on this. Evan Mobley to the Cavs. Let's do it. Come on.
There you go. Hope springs eternal, as always. All right, my man. Take care.
All right. See you guys.
Welcome back, guys. Thanks again to my man, Kevin McCune. Please check him out on the Weekend Adjustments talk show every Saturday morning on 1450 a.m. The Ticket out of Hamilton, Ohio, for those who are local here in Cincinnati, Ohio, greater area. The greater Cincinnati area, excuse me. But anyway, we're going to jump into our HBCU sports segment. There's it's college media days, SWAC media days, and there's one guy that's gone a whole lot of conversation across the spectrum, HBCU sports to the Power 5 spectrum. I ain't going to just delay it. I ain't going to tease it. So, Dwayne, bless us with some of that knowledge, man.
Well, before I even get to that, there's still a bunch of other news that one we missed out while we were on a hiatus into stuff that's been going on in the past couple of days. So let me go with the stuff that went on during the hiatus. The biggest thing, of course, being that one of the new members to the SWAC, Bethune Cookman, hired a new athletic director and new men's basketball head coach, a name you guys might know, and
Reggie.
that name being one Reggie Theus. Yeah. I thought it was a rather interesting hire. There are a lot of people who believe that in order to have an athletic director job in the HBCU realm, that you need to have some sort of knowledge of HBCU culture. And being that, of course, Reggie Theus is not an HBCU alum,
right? How
will he fare as not only a head basketball coach, but an athletic director coming into this brand new SWAC, this whole super HBCU conference of 12 teams. So I'm waiting to see exactly how that pans out.
Right.
Also, additional news with the Olympics coming up in a couple of days.
Yeah.
It was just relayed to me today that even though a couple of weeks ago we were informed that the entire men's 4x400 relay team from North Carolina A&T will be participating in the Olympics. Unfortunately, because their countries, Nigeria and Mexico respectively, won't be attending the Olympics because of the COVID outbreak, Akeem Sirleaf and Daniel Stokes will not be participating in the Olympics this year.
That sucks.
Yeah, that sucks big time, man. When I heard that, my heart kind of fell for those guys because I was looking to see what they were going to do for their respective countries in the 4x400 relay.
Yeah.
The other news, this one's super big. Now, of course, like you said, Scott, it is media day. It's football media day season. Tuesday, it was the SWAC, and tomorrow it's going to be CIAA. So we get a little Division II action going on.
Yep.
But with the SWAC having their media day on Tuesday, the MEAC was like, yo, we're not going to get left out. We got some big news ourselves. And it was announced Tuesday that Commissioner Dr. Dennis Thomas will be stepping down from his position.
What took his ass so long? Seriously.
But yeah, he'll be stepping down from his position as commissioner come December. And of course, there's going to be a nationwide search going on to find his replacement. I just find it odd that this happens, of course, on the 51st year of the conference and after the mass exodus of Hampton, Savannah State, North Carolina A&T, Florida A&M, and Bethune-Cookman over the past 3 years. And now whoever they bring in as the new commissioner is going to have a lot on their plate. Not only trying to bring in new membership, Well, first and foremost, just getting hired and trying to figure out ways to attract new membership, and then trying to figure out ways to keep the guys that they currently have, to keep the institutions that they currently have, as well as bringing in new members to join the MEAC. But of course, like I said before, to cap off everything, to lead into the next story, Tuesday, FCS football, SWAC had their media day with the introduction of 2 new teams. Alcorn State comes back into the fold in terms of playing fall football this year. The preseason predictions came out along with the preseason honors, where Akil Glass, quarterback for Alabama A&M, make that spring champion of the SWAC Alabama A&M. And Jordan Lewis, defensive end out of Southern, and also spring Buck Buchanan winning Jordan Lewis, one of only 3 HBCU alums, HBCU players to ever win the Buck Buchanan Award, which is the best defensive player on the FCS level, for those that don't know. So, they named those, their preseason team. The predictions are that it looks like Alabama A&M and Alcorn State, according to the coaches and the ADs, they think those are going to be the 2 teams to meet in the SWAC championship game in December. But you guys don't want to hear about all that. You want to hear about the mess that is one Deion Sanders and what happened with him during Radio Row, where he walked out on a member of the press who kept referring to him by his first name. So, do you want me to continue, or do you have any questions before I go?
Well, I'll say this. If a coach, look, I get what people say about Deion Sanders and this hubris or whatever, He asked the guy, I don't know if he asked him respectively or not. I didn't hear.
He did.
Okay,
he did. Based on the video that I saw, he did. Well, let me put it like this. It was a little angst to it. He basically said, and I quote, you don't refer to Nick Saban as Nick, so please refer to me. Please don't call me Deion. And then the guy, responded, well, I do call Nick. So Deion. And then that's when Deion stood up and walked away.
He was being a smart ass,
Exactly. Yes.
He was being a smart ass.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I saw part of the SEC video of this. I'm flipping, but and whoever was talking, Nick Saban was called Nick a few times. And it didn't seem like he got too bent out of shape about it.
No.
But I see where some older media members may take what Deion said with a bit of hubris. But I don't know, man. But I'm just saying, if someone asks you not to refer to him as coach, whether you think it's hubris or not, the respectful way to do it is not be a smart ass and say, well, I call Nick Saban, I call him Nick, so Deion. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that.
My retort to this, right? So first and foremost, to quote one of the greatest movies of all time, Coming to America. This is America. This is a free country. If a man wants to be called coach, by golly, call him coach.
Yes.
Right? That's number one. And having a conversation with several people, it's not about what they call you, it's what you respond to, right?
Yeah.
And we've heard that quote several times, numerous times. And the thing is, he did his best to correct him, and I'll get to my feelings in that.
Yes.
In just a moment, right? First and foremost, you have to look at it like this. There are a lot of people who say that this happened because there aren't enough dedicated journalists, especially as it pertains to larger publications that cover HBCUs. Now, I will say this, that is an issue.
Right.
But part of the problem is, right, is I don't look at that being necessarily an HBCU issue with what happened on Tuesday. This is more a Deion Sanders issue, right? And not from him, but towards him.
Yeah.
This is a monster that he created in my eye, right? With the brand that he's created of prime time and this character that he's created that's very open to the public and very welcoming to everyone and is such a people person to the point that it makes everyone comfortable with him, that everyone refers to him as on a first name basis, be it Deion or Prime, that people tend to forget that he is a head coach at a collegiate institution. Now, yes, there are a lot of people that do call and refer to other coaches by their first name. But there are a lot of other people that still refer to them as coach. Now, yes, I find it interesting that a lot of people try to bring up the point that Deion Sanders ain't Nick Saban. So the hell what?
Right.
The one thing that Deion and Nick do have in common is that they're both head coaches. Respect them as such, right?
Right.
And the same way that everyone talked about how Nick Saban was called Nick 8 times during the SEC media day. And I truly believe a lot of people, several media members did that on purpose solely because to counter what Deion Sanders said, right? Because I saw another press conference, not from the same day, but just a different press conference with Nick Saban, where just about everybody referred to Nick as coach in that interview. So
yeah,
I can name you another head coach that would have corrected you and said, "Hey, you don't call me by my first name. You call me Mr. So-and-so, Coach so-and-so, or Coach." And that would be John Thompson. I dare you to call John Thompson.
Oh my God.
He would
whip his ass. He would whip that guy's ass in the press conference.
And I'm not talking about year 10, year 11, year 12 John Thompson. I'm talking about year 1 John Thompson. John Thompson came through the door demanding respect. And you respected him because of that. I don't care what your record is. I don't care how many wins, losses, ties, vacancies you have in your record. If you are holding the position of head coach on any level, junior high, high school, college, pee-wee, rec league, street league, street football, I don't care. If you're a coach, I'm referring to you as coach. I don't care how comfortable I am with you unless you just happen to have that rapport. And I just find it interesting. There were several people who came out as kind of like antagonists that were like, well, I refer to him as by his first name. Okay, you had that relationship. But you know what? That dude don't have that relationship with Deion, which is why Deion was like, no, please respectfully call me coach. Well, he didn't say it that way, but still, dude, call me coach, please. My players, you know what? There was a time during media day last year, but during the spring, where one of his players referred to him as Prime. He was like, what's my name again? He said, yes. He said, oh, I'm sorry, Coach Sanders. Now, yes, I understand that.
One of his own players called him Prime?
One of his own players. Once again, that comes with comfortable, with this familiarity with Deion Sanders and the brand in which he created. That's why I said that's a monster he created and a monster that he's going to have to fix.
Wow.
But because of the way that people see Deion Sanders, they're going to look at his response as being negative and disrespectful, and they come back at him in kind, which I find to be extremely disrespectful. So you've seen me on this show multiple times come at Jackson State, come at Deion Sanders for things that he said that I didn't agree with.
And the commenters noticed too.
And the commenters know this. But you know what? I'm backing Deion Sanders on this one because, yes, you should respect him for what his position is, whether or not you respect him or not. The same way with the last president, if you don't respect him, hey, just either don't call him by his name, whatever, just don't be disrespectful to him in his face, dude.
Right.
Don't, because that's what you get. But I'll follow that up with this, right? With all of that said, you combine that with the news that a reporter from the Clarion Ledger, which is the newspaper in Jackson, Mississippi, one of their reporters was kept away by someone in the sports information department there at Jackson State from interviewing players because they wrote an article that talked about, I forget the defensive player's name. He's being charged for domestic assault on someone. And because he came out with that report, he was not allowed to interview players. Now, you back that up with what happened with the walking out. Now, mind you, let me go ahead and clear this up too. He did not walk out on a media day. He walked out on that individual. Right. Because Deion was there to do interviews with other press. He was there to do his spot that aired on ESPN3 with the conference. So, yes, he was there to talk to press and to the media. He just didn't want to talk to that Bama. So, no, he didn't walk up and like everyone likes to make this to be, oh, my God, he walked out and cussed the dude out. No, he didn't do all that. He just walked on one dude. And you know what? I respect him for doing so. But, yo, you combine that with not allowing a member of the media to talk to a player because he wrote an article that reported the truth, apparently, about this dude facing charges of domestic dispute or domestic abuse, then that doesn't look good on the institution either. So they got a whole lot of mess they got to clean up this week as it pertains to their image. But you know, I just find it bad timing for the both of those two things to happen on the exact same day. But like I said before, Prime, I'm with you, bruh. Yes, refer to you as coach. Yeah. But yeah, you can't block media from talking. Well, I mean, I guess you can, but it's just not a good look to do so. No. And you should have been cognizant of that in that situation. I mean, I understand you're trying to have a clean image on media day, right? But as a program, they're going to have to do better on how they handle situations like that.
Exactly. I mean, because those vultures going to be circling around Jackson State football program.
My God, they're already circling.
It's starting week 1.
Yes.
They get Florida A&M, which I know is technically a neutral site game, but that's a home game for Florida A&M. Yeah. It's going to be close to Tallahassee. It's in Florida.
It's in Miami, yeah.
There's a lot of FAMU alum in Miami.
Yes, it is.
Not led by per se, well, it's not an alum, but a big supporter of FAMU athletics is Chad Johnson, aka Ocho Cinco. He's in Miami from the what's it called? I Am Athlete podcast, the best podcast in the land, by the way. So FAMU is going to be representing in Miami. So it's going to be hell for Deion and company from week 1. You think FAMU is not hype about joining the SWAC?
They are super hype about joining the SWAC. And the thing is, they're already critics. I mean, kind of me too as well. But I'm not as no, that's not true. Okay. I'm at least hoping for the best for Deion, right? Sure. And, I'm sorry, for Coach Prime and Jackson State football, right? Right. The thing is, I'm not going to be overly critical in situations where it's not merited. But all it takes is a loss of week 1, and the critics are going to come out super hard until he wins a game. Right. And if they don't win at least a division this year, it's a failure, because you're talking about a program that has bragged and boasted about having 4- and 5-star athletes, having the highest ranking as it pertains to their incoming class. With their ranking, is the highest FCS ranking this past spring for the upcoming fall. So they have a ton of athletes. And if they don't win at least the division, a lot of people are going to look at this season as being a failure. Really? And he's going to be overly criticized because of it.
Well, I'll say this. People didn't like what we said last year, that this is, as far as HBCUs as a whole go, as far as football in particular, it's Deion's world. It's like what attracted ESPN to the SWAC was Deion. Let's just be real about it. Even though the SWAC has long-standing brands, we know what those brands are. People who want to know what the brands are. Grambling, Southern. Some people will argue Alcorn State is a brand.
Especially with the way that they played in the past 4 or 5 years, most definitely. And you added to that mix Bethune, Cookman, and Florida A&M. Yes.
Especially FAMU is a huge brand.
So you're talking about heavy hitter after heavy hitter after heavy hitter.
Yeah.
I'll say this though, right? The schedule is just released in terms of the television schedule. And if you look at their games based upon in-conference games, they're looking to do a Saturday game and a Thursday game. And I thought that was interesting because they talked so badly about playing on Thursday because no one watches Thursday games.
Right.
And it's hard to get attendance on Thursday. But they're happy about the Thursday games now because it's exposure.
It's visibility.
So
it's
So my thing is, hey, as long as you're happy, I'm happy. But my thing, of course, is you still need a digital network so that all the games are broadcasted. Because even with that happening, you're still only broadcasting 2 to 3 games a week when you have 6 conference games being played on a weekly basis. So that's 6 teams that we won't be seeing on TV at all.
Right.
Because your lack of having a network. So until you do that, that's when I'll really be happy about it. But you glad that you got 2 or 3. I'm glad with you. Fine. It is what it is. But
we'll see. I mean, I don't know. It's like everyone's trying to cut the cord now.
Yeah.
Cable cord. So the days of me grandstanding about an HBCU sports network is probably over as far as cable goes.
Oh no, I'm referring to digital. If they go digital,
that's what I'm saying. Digital. I agree with you on digital. I totally agree with you on digital. They should have done that shit last year.
Yeah, and I'm not even necessarily talking about them being independent. It would be great if they could do it independently because they actually have the means to do so. That's a whole nother conversation for another time. But if they would go ahead and just join the likes of ESPN like everyone else, well, like the majority of everyone else, and have games on ESPN Plus, but they downplay ESPN Plus so horribly, I'm like, yo, that is one of the greatest assets you have in terms of visibility. That's a way that everybody gets an opportunity to have a game televised. But you want to say, we don't want to be on ESPN 8. Hey, ESPN 8 beats ESPN 0.
Right. And I think more of them come around to that because I looked at the schedule too. A lot of these games are on ESPN Plus.
A lot of those games are on ESPN Plus. So for the same people who just in December talked about, well, we don't want to be on ESPN Plus, without doing necessarily the math, I'm going to go ahead and say half their games, if not more, are going to be on ESPN Plus.
And you get to see your team.
So
shut the fuck up and enjoy it. Be thankful that ESPN is really, I don't want to say throwing the conference a bone.
They're not. It's something that they've been wanting to do with the SWAC and the MEAC for years. Yeah. It's just that they've been dragging their feet in terms of making it happen.
Yeah, and it's finally making it happen.
Someone's been dragging their feet.
Right, and they won ESPN. So finally they're making it happen. The SWAC's making it happen. Too bad for the MEAC, but still, the SWAC is making it happen. Yeah, I know. We're going to keep this upbeat and not talk about we'll focus on the SWAC. SWAC is where it's at. The SEC of them, I say them and the Missouri Valley Conference. The likes of North Dakota State and Company. They're the SECs, in my opinion, in terms of hype, and fan support, and brand of football of FCS. I think you mentioned that right quick. That I don't want to stray too far away from this. That the SWAC has led FCS conferences in average attendance. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has been most definitely for like the past 5 seasons, most definitely, maybe even more than that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they most definitely lead in attendance. The thing is, of course, monetizing that situation so that's a
Yes.
benefit to the entire conference.
Yes. Yes. And I think it took them a long ass time, but I think the SWAC said, wake up and say, you know what, especially after the spring,
Mm-hmm.
just say, you know what, man, okay, fine. ESPN Plus, okay. Well, they have some games on ESPNU as well. So yeah, we won't get ESPN nor ESPN2 most of the time. But the fact that ESPN Plus is digital, to your point, that means you can pick up your phone, smartphone, and anyone can watch it.
Yeah.
They can cast it to the damn TV if they wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
They can watch it on the laptops, on the desktop of their old school. The whole thing is more people get to see them if you're ESPN Plus. People don't just downplay that, which I think is stupid because it's exposure. In the end, it's exposure and everybody gets to be seen.
It's the one thing they cry about wanting, but yet you're saying, yo, I don't want it that way.
Right. You can't have it both ways, guys. You
I
can't
want
have both
exposure.
ways.
I just don't want it that way.
Yeah.
And the fact that Coach Sanders, you see, I'm being nice today. Coach Sanders actually called out BET and TV1 during the SWAC conference, asking, where they at as it pertains to exposure for HBCU athletics. I mean, I'll ask, hey, yes, where are you? The only reason why I question them a little bit is because, of course, BET at one point in time put their foot into that foray of covering HBCU athletics. Of course, they don't do it anymore. And then, of course, it's mainly because they're owned by Viacom now, which is why they don't do it anymore, which is why I'm like, I'm going to need y'all to stop begging for BET to cover HBCU athletics. Right. That's not their thing no more. You don't see nobody begging MTV to cover the MAC. You don't. Right. Because that's not what they do anymore. Right. Well, that's not what they even do. And that's exactly what BET doesn't do anymore. So stop asking for them. You go the avenue that actually wants to broadcast your games to have them air. And you're like, no, I don't even want it that way.
And an entity like ESPN.
And an entity like ESPN.
They're saying we want to broadcast you. We want to broadcast you. It may not be the conventional way, if you will, as far as TV, but more and more people do what? They stream.
They stream.
And what does ESPN have that any streamer could get? ESPN Plus. They're offering you a chance to be fucking seen.
Yeah.
That goes to show that people really don't know what the hell they're working with.
They don't.
They don't. They really don't know. And that's just bad management on the conference's part. Used to be bad management on the conference side as far as the SWAC goes. They finally have people who know what the fuck they're doing in the media office, media departments, or whatever it is, and they're like, "Look, dude, someone got to the commissioner, whoever been holding up, said, look, dude, do you know what ESPN Plus even is? Do you know about streaming? Do you know about digital broadcasting? Do you know what that shit is? You don't? Okay, blah, 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 blah. Do you get it now? Yeah, I get it now. Okay, so therefore, most of the schedule is being on ESPN Plus. Why? Because someone talks sensitive about the campus presidents, the damn commissioner, or whoever the hell's in the front office in the SWAC. Someone finally got to him, or somebody's got to somebody else and made it happen. And so they're gonna go from not having, so basically a team like Arkansas Pine Bluff go from no one knowing who the hell they are to people actually seeing them on a week-to-week basis. Why? Because ESPN Plus.
That's the hope, right? Because my thing is, I glanced at the schedule, but I of course will be doing an analysis to see who will be left out in the cold and won't be broadcasted at all this year.
Sure.
And of course, who gets the most and who gets the least games. Now, my guess is already that the likes of Alabama A&M, Jackson State and Florida A&M will get the lion's share of those games, whereas the likes of Mississippi Valley State and probably say, well, I'm not in Texas Southern, probably won't get any, if any, games at all this fall. So there needs to be a situation where even the likes of the Delta Devils and the Tigers are broadcast on TV because they have fan bases too, right? And viewership is viewership. But my thing is this, you people keep complaining about not having the exposure. Now the games are on Thursday. You know what that means, HBCU fans? You're going to have to turn off the NFL on Thursday and watch those games on Thursday so that they can get good numbers.
Yeah, or
right?
go to the game too, yeah.
Yes. So, because the thing is, everyone's clamoring for Saturday. Everybody wants to be on TV on Saturday. But here's a reality check for you. You're not taking over the SEC. You're not taking over the Big Ten. You're not taking over the Big 12 in terms of TV. And you're not taking over the ACC in terms of TV time on what? The 2 ESPN networks that come on cable.
Yeah.
You're not going to do it.
Right.
You only have but so much television slots on so many television networks. So take advantage of the digital broadcasting that's made available to you. And then, of course, the games that actually do come on TV, fans watch it. I don't want to hear that BS of, oh, my God, sorry, Scott, the Pittsburgh Steelers are playing on Thursday night. I gotta watch my.
We're probably
Steelers.
gonna suck this year anyway, so
I'm not gonna watch the Southern play because my Steelers are playing. Hey, you can't cry about exposure when you're getting the exposure that you're looking for, and you're not gonna watch, fans.
Mm-hmm.
So stop it.
Right. Well said. That takes us to our random shit segment, and Olympics has started. Maybe not.
Yes.
Maybe not officially.
No, officially.
Well, I mean by people walking around the track.
They're having the of course.
And the torch. That's why I meant by officially.
Oh, that's official for you.
Right. That's when motherfuckers go around the track and but this is going to be the COVID Olympics, man. Like Coco Golf not going to be in Tokyo because of COVID. We know that your boy Bradley Beal won't be able to compete in the Olympics because of COVID. Yeah. And that really broke his heart. He really wanted to play and represent his country, so God bless him for that. It's to a point where Olympic organizers have, with the people in Japan being pissed off that the government is more focused on the Olympics than on its own people as far as the COVID numbers soaring through the roof. Yeah. Right? And to the point where the Olympic organizers said that they wouldn't rule out a last-minute cancellation. I don't know who the hell that's going to appease, but and also
they've been calling for a cancellation for months.
Yes,
they should have done it then. Why wait until the last minute to do it?
When everyone's over there now. Oh, and by the way, our women's soccer team got their asses kicked by Sweden. Yeah. This is gonna be a weird ass Olympics. It is. I don't know what the hell we're gonna.
It's gonna be the COVID Olympics, the asterisk Olympics, and then you talk about certain U.S. athletes that's not going. Like I reported earlier, Nigeria and Mexico and probably other countries aren't going because of the outbreak numbers. Oh my God! Then you got the whole cardboard beds for people not to have sex on, only for your boy to jump up and down on the bed and show that the bed takes at least 400 to 500 pounds of pressure. I'm like, yo, what was that about?
That's wild. That's wild.
And then, of course, the whole Paralympics situation where there's a swimmer from Maryland that's deaf that is now protesting because they want to allow her her assistant to go out there with her. Yeah.
So that's crazy.
Yeah, this Olympics is going to be messy, dude.
And I think another Paralympian, a young lady who wears short shorts. I mean, they've been wearing short shorts for a long time, apparently. Someone from England, I think leading up to it, like said, had a snide remark about wearing like too shorts of a short. it's a clusterfuck all the way around, man. It really is. And I don't know, dude. If we get any symbols of Olympic Games, I'll be shocked.
Yeah. So I'm
I'd
just
be
like
shocked. Waiting for that shit to drop at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a huge mess, dude.
Yeah, well. Anywho, on that note, since nothing else is going on, let's call it, man. Hey, thank y'all for tuning into the nice podcast, the Klown Hour.
Yes.
Please keep subscribing. We're enjoying it. We're enjoying the interaction. Please like and share the videos. Hit the bell button to get notifications of new videos. We'd appreciate that. You would appreciate that. Also, check out my man. Go do this. Check out my man on the Yards HBCU Sports, reps of all things HBCU Sports. Sleazy Radio every Tuesday on Facebook Live. I'm glad you did, especially that. As well as his great work on HeroSports.com, where that's about FCS athletics, speaking of the SWAC, as it pertains to HBCUs. Please get the merch, cafepress.com, just for Klown Sports.
Get the merch.
Link should be in the description when the whole podcast in its entirety be uploaded on YouTube. And please, the Delta variant is here, guys. You got people not wearing masks for whatever the hell reason, even though less than half the population is really vaccinated. Please, I want to go back to restaurants. I want to go on plane rides to other countries or other places around the country. I want to be able to get drinks with my homeboys, my frat brothers. Wear a mask so this pandemic will be over, please. I beg you, please do that. Wash your damn hands if you have to, whatever you have to do. Please, I'm tired of living. I'm tired of living restricted. I understand wearing a mask. I'm tired of wearing a damn mask. I want to be free. We're talking about freedoms here. Just do your part. If not for me or Dwayne, do it for your damn self, okay? Wear a mask. That's all I got. Take care. Enjoy the rest of the week. I'm out.